Good afternoon! Hey, welcome in. Happy Friday, everybody. Danny and Dusty with you on this glorious Friday afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Good. Real quick shout out to my wife who put out the trash cans this morning because I totally forgot it was Friday.
Oh,
Did one of those. Wholly got up thinking today was Thursday.
that's a,
Bit of a surprise when I was like, oh, it's Friday.
that's what happens when you have the Monday off.
It totally it
For
throws me
Memorial
off.
Day.
It throws me off every freaking time, man.
Memorial Day. It is Friday. So happy Friday to everybody. And again, shout outs to Danny's wife putting out the trash cans. You trash man come early?
Not super early, like 9:30.
See, I don't know when mine comes.
I do because my dogs. So when Dallas was a little puppy, I had to do the oh crap and run out there
Yeah.
and drag it, and she was still super tiny, so I had her in my arm, and
Why didn't you just leave the dog in the house?
I think I was giving her medicine, and I heard it, and I just like literally sprinted out with the dog in my arm because she was sick or something like that.
Okay.
She was tiny, like wasn't a big deal, but the arms of the dump truck scared the living bejesus out of her, like terrified shaking in my arms at that time. So for really 2 years, the sound of that dump truck like triggered her. And so every morning she would just lose her mind. Now over the last like 6 months, she's been better. But Tanner kind of caught hold of it too, and so he kind of barks. So I get this loose,
all right. So 7:30, huh?
semi-aggressive barking.
I feel like Tanner has a little like a 13-year-old boy soccer haircut bowl.
Yeah, I feel like that. Like you take him to the groomer, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna give him, we're gonna give him the bowl cut." He just
Out of the eyes. I like it.
That's a good visual for Russ. When you said that, I never put that together. But when you said it,
He
I
does
was
put
with
off
you
that
right
energy.
there.
He does put off 13-year-old boy energy. There's no doubt about that.
Does he take your socks?
Yes.
Can you crack him in half?
He's not fixed, so probably.
All right. Now it's all coming together here, huh? Take long showers, that dog does. What's he doing in there the whole time?
Taking a
My
shower.
Goodness.
Letting the water fall on his back.
So our trash depends on if it's just trash week or if it's everything week. If it's just trash, it comes at like 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock.
Wait. You have an everything week? I have an alternate week. I
Yeah,
have either a recycle or a yard debris.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1 week is just trash. The next week is
Both?
trash, recycled, yard debris, glass,
Oh.
all of it.
See, in Newburgh, we don't get the fancy glass separation. It just goes in the recycle.
Well, I don't think you're recycling properly then. I don't think that's how it works.
Just telling you.
I don't think that's how recycling works.
They tell us.
That just means in Newburgh, all of your stuff just goes to the dump no matter what. They're just like, go ahead and separate it between like cardboard. I guess throw your glass in there too. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's all going to the same place anyway.
They just try to make you feel better.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know when my garbage man comes because sometimes it'll be like 7 in the morning. Sometimes it'll be like I will leave for work and garbage is still there. Recycling is still there. I have no idea when. It's random. It's really random. And I always felt like every other place I've lived, there's been consistency with the time and the route and everything. I don't got it.
Are you a Friday too?
No. No, we're a Wednesday.
Oh,
We're a
okay.
Wednesday garbage
Or a Friday?
neighborhood.
That's probably why. That's probably why there's no consistency. Wednesday's such a weird day.
Well, I mean, they work every day.
Well, I know, but I mean, like, it feels
know?
like it's weird. I've lived in multiple cities up here, and my garbage has always been on Friday. I don't know if I just lucked out that way, but my garbage has always been on Friday.
Well, I think that is luck.
It's very convenient.
I think that is coincidence.
See, what I find funny is that on our street, in the middle of a block,
Yeah.
it switches garbage companies in the middle of a block.
Really?
So, like, one house will be Waste Management, and their next door neighbor is Garbarino.
Yeah. Hey, we're Garbarino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Shout outs to Garbarino.
yeah. So half the time we have to watch the garbage truck come down, back up to get one house's trash, and then go take off on the rest of the street.
Huh.
That's super weird.
Is one side of the neighborhood nicer than the other?
Well, of course, it's the side that I'm on.
Mm.
Which is
Nicer.
garbage company?
Waste Management.
Okay, so the Waste Management is nicer.
Yeah. I mean, they got a PGA event and everything.
I mean, they're hard to work with, though.
Oh, they're the worst.
that-
The
yeah,
you go to
they're
their,
awful.
if you go to their website or if you try to call them, they'll nickel and dime you if
Oh.
your lid is open ever so slightly.
Oh yeah, they show you a picture of it on your
Yeah.
bill too.
Meanwhile, if
my
they miss an egg-
wife, she went back and forth with. They tried to like do the we're gonna put you on hold and wait you out thing with her. They underestimated my Russian wife.
the stubbornness just
She is
kicked
like,
in.
oh, I've got 4 hours.
Let's go.
I'm gonna sit here. And like she even got the like when they pulled her off of being on hold, they're like, hello, and she's like, yep, and they're
Still
like,
here.
whoa, you're still here, because they tried to double charge us, and she's like, no, get this off of my account, and they tried to give her the runaround. Like she'd been on hold. I think she tracked it for like over the course of like several calls to Waste Management. It was a full work day. She put in an 8-hour day.
Goodness.
Wow.
I mean, it was over multiple days and
Okay.
multiple calls, but it was like a full on, like, I've been on hold for 2 hours and 30 minutes here. I had a 4-hour sitting on wait, went full Karen. Can I speak to your manager? Turned out, same person.
Yeah.
Same person.
Went full pop copy on you? Well, guess what? I am the
person.
manager. You're the manager. You damn right.
All right. Well, then I'm talking to the idiot I need to be talking to right now. Yeah, that was a whole deal. And I was just like, thank God for you, because I would have just paid that extra. And I think that's what they bank on, is people just being like, I'm not going to do
Yeah.
screw this. I'm
Yeah.
out. No. My Russian bride says nay. I don't know what no is in Russian.
Yet.
Yet.
Nyet. And
I'm
Then-
sure she didn't drop a spasiba at the end of that either.
nah, she's not really Russian,
That's thank you, though.
but her family is.
You can't get away from
Shouldn't
it.
stop that.
You can't get away from it. I'm telling you right now, you can't get away from it. There's no.
No. You just glad I'm on their side, in this family. In
Yes.
the United States. In the
100
United States.
100%.
The United States. All right. Well, on to other things besides garbage. It's a nice day today. 76.
Wonderful outside.
It's nice and sunny, and it's
Isn't there
going to
spo-
rain
yeah,
this weekend.
Isn't there another atmospheric river?
Is that what's coming?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Can we get? Come on.
I was going to wash the car
man.
this weekend, and I was like,
Don't
nope,
need to.
holding off now.
Don't need
That's
to.
the one downside of the white car, man. It's super hard to maintain the.
No, I am so out on white cars.
I
I
got a great deal on it.
I'll
man.
never own a white car.
I got a great deal on it. That's the reason I got it. I was like, I'm a man of scruples.
my
I'm scrupulous.
yeah.
with my,
Our
with
new
my
car
finances.
is new car. We've had it for like 2 years.
It's whitish.
No, it is white. And I was like, why are we doing this? What are we doing here?
'Cause
She's
it was
like, I want a
Trump.
white car. I was like, I don't. And you say that now,
It's probably almost. It was probably also $2,000 cheaper.
and
The white car's
don't
always
know.
cheaper.
Yeah,
always
I go.
cheaper.
You look like a fleet vehicle.
It does. Like that's. But also that will keep you from getting the whoop whoop. Telling you, it helps.
Well, it's good she's driving it.
Yeah.
I was like, and by the way, the way you play bumper cars out here on the roads, I don't think that it's gonna be the best car. It's gonna show
They
everything,
show
these
all of the black
blemishes.
marks.
And then on top of that, I was like, yeah, I put my foot down and I said, I am not washing this one because it's gonna have to be
It
washed
shows,
a lot.
It shows
everything,
everything. But-
everything.
But the thing is, like, you try to watch. If you try to maintain it during the winter, it is a futile effort.
Yeah,
It is a futile effort.
yeah.
There's no point in it.
Yeah.
None.
And then this text says it's not harder than black. Black also not
Yeah.
great. Not great.
I'd take a black car over a white car.
I
though.
would too.
7 days a week,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
twice on Sunday.
Because look, when you have a black car and it has like the mud on it, it doesn't look like you got streaks in your undies driving around the road, right? Like, I mean, it just, everybody's like, yeah, that car's got skid marks on the side of it. Nobody wants that. That's a terrible visual to have rolling around town. I've settled on dark gray, and I like green cars, like dark green, like a forest green
Yeah.
car. I think those are good looking. And like if you go navy blue
Yeah.
blue's a good looking car.
See, that's our
With the little-
Forerunner. We gotta
with
get
the
a
little
dark blue.
metallic
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, let's go. Or if you have a Cadillac, it's candy apple red. Like, I mean,
Well, then you're a
That's
magnet for
dope.
cops.
but you're driving
Well,
a
that's good.
Cadillac, so it's pretty awesome.
But you know what I've really we're gonna go full colors here.
Okay.
That like almost matte gray.
Okay.
Have you seen that like on the new Audis and the
Yeah.
Jeeps?
Yeah.
It looks like you could like dive into it.
I don't know what that means.
Like the color looks flat, but it also looks like it has life. Like it
Like,
looks
are you telling
it
me
looks
you
like-
want to take a header off a building into the car? What are
Yes.
you saying, Danny?
head first into the
You
side of
want
the
to
door.
dive into it?
Go like no, like the color itself. It's like it sounds so awkward to say this, but like it's like an inviting color. It's not matte, but it's somehow flat. But it also like
Thank
I
God
don't-
you're not a deer because you'd just be running in the car like middle of the road, like, yes, I want this car.
love it.
I do. I know what you're talking about. Now, the way that you reframed it after your initial, I want to dive into it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I got you there.
Okay.
All right. And that's talking cars.
There you go,
That's as much of talking cars you're going to get me to go with. All right.
Mr. Carmen.
Yeah.
Is that your father?
Yeah. But the text
First name
says
Eric.
your dirty black car looks like a faded, blankety dark gray. Yeah, that's better than skid marks in your undies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll take that. You know, you can kind of. Have you ever seen the Teslas? Teslas, I don't know what it is, but in the winter, instead of looking dirty, they look like a more matte color. Like when they get a little bit dirty. Like there's a guy who lives in my neighborhood, not Boring Gary. He has a Tesla, but he always keeps his very clean. There's another guy in the neighborhood, and I know that it is a shiny car.
But when
I see
it
driving
gets dusty, it just looks.
it looks like it's matte gray. It's
Yeah.
like I can get down with that a little bit, you know. It's like it doesn't make it look dingy and dirty.
No.
It just makes it look different.
You know, if you, I'm gonna go one step further on the white.
Okay.
If you get that Cadillac Escalade white, that pearled white.
Oh yeah,
that's
nice.
the one that even if it gets dirty, you're like that still looks
All
good.
right, we're talking cars now.
there
We're
you go.
talking cars. All right, let's talk sports, shall we? Today on today's program, we
Mm.
got coming up at 2:30. Jeff Rust has dove deep into his knowledge bank, and he will be tickling your brains
It's a shallow dive.
at 2:30.
Hey.
That was genuine offended that we just heard
I hate you guys so much.
from Jeff Rust. And
Hey,
the delay on the hay kind of proved Danny's point.
Did I just hear that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. He teed it up.
He called you dumb.
He teed it up. Blame
called you
him.
dumb. All right. We also talked a little, we got some foosball news out there.
My feelings.
That's right, Gus. We have the college baseball World Series is going on. Well, not the World Series, but the regionals have started. I love watching the regionals, super regionals, World Series of both baseball and softball.
Mhm.
I don't watch a lot of college baseball or softball.
No. Come playoff time, I will 100% tune in.
It's very Olympics for me.
Yeah.
It's very Olympics where if you don't have a dog in the fight, you just pick one, and then like by the end of the game, you know everything about that team.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, I'm in.
I'm in.
You know what? Austin P. Austin P. They got the two leading hitters in baseball. Most hits in baseball. 96 hits, 95 hits.
There you go.
Austin P. What? You kidding me?
Are their uniforms yellow?
Go Governor. No. Black and red. Black and red.
Ooh, they might want to see a doctor about that.
Yeah. I did. Mr. Springer, my health teacher in high school, he said, if you ever poop or pee and you see blood, go to a doctor.
It's the best piece of medical advice you could get.
Isn't it?
We got one. It was my
And then that went into a long hemorrhoid conversation. And it was like, well, I mean, it's got to be inside, not on. It was like, wow, I'm not ready for this.
Paul Lindman was our commencement speaker at my high school graduation, and his last piece of advice was never try to stick anything in your ear that's smaller than your elbow.
The same Paul Lindman that
Yeah.
The whale blew up?
The exploding whale. Yeah, that Paul Lindman.
Man has understood the science.
I'm not sure.
Hey, we're here 30 years later, and I still remember that.
You're right.
Yeah, but-
Steve Lyons was mine, and I
Hold
don't
on.
remember a word he said.
We didn't. I don't know if we
Steve
had.
Lyons, Beaverton High School grad,
Yeah.
I don't know if we had anybody speak at my high school graduation.
Really?
because they couldn't read.
Smaller than your elbow.
Wow.
I'm not going to deny that.
I'm sorry. That was
I do have a
No, my
particular
diploma
fondness.
was paint by colors.
You know, speaking of baseball, I do have a particular fondness for baseball, bro.
Yeah, it is. Put your elbow and nothing smaller than your elbow.
Yeah.
How big are Paul Lindman's ears?
Well,
I don't know if I could fit my elbow anywhere close.
that's the whole
Your-
point.
your
So
elbow-
wait, does he
don't put
have?
anything
Does
in
he
your
not
ears.
like Q-tip? Does he not put Q-tips?
I don't know. I didn't ask. It was a big ceremony.
Get Paul Lindman on the horn. I got questions for him. Is he alive? Dead or alive?
I'm pretty sure he's alive.
Dead or alive?
I'm pretty sure he's alive.
Not sure about that one.
Dead or alive? Paul Lindman, radio personality. Alive.
Alive.
There you go.
He's a
77.
Good for him.
Please, let's call. I need to talk to him about this now.
About Q-tips and
Your
dynamite.
elbow in the ear. All right. What kind of wax buildup does he got going? Can he hear us on the phone
Yeah.
at this point?
See, so that's what. Yeah. So he's not
you ever
going
watch those?
Q-tip.
You
He's
ever
going
watch
with the
those
water
videos?
pick.
He's going with the what?
I'm just saying. If you're going down that line of thinking,
Do you ever watch those videos, the earwax removal videos?
Oddly satisfying.
It's god, it's
Oddly
something because
ew.
you start thinking, what do I have going on in there?
Yeah. Well, the ones that get me is like when like you're just scrolling and all of a sudden like you see they're going in and a bug starts getting
Oh,
pulled out.
God,
And you're like,
yeah.
what? No.
And then you have to
gross.
watch.
Oh, so bad.
So you have to watch.
It's
terrifying.
And then you think, what relief that must feel like.
Oh God,
You know?
incredible.
Like if you think of like the littlest of earwax falls out of your ear, you're like, oh wow, that
that's-
felt good.
That's better.
Think of like somebody's like bug out.
You pull a cicada out of your ear.
That's so gross. All right. Again, hope everybody's lunch is going well. Let's get this thing going. Sportsies. The Mavs punch their ticket and have leave no doubt. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
my soft in the middle. The rest of my life is so hard. I need a photo opportunity. I want a shot of redemption. Don't want to end up a cartoon in a cartoon.
I just love this song. Want to hear a little bit? I love this.
What the hell is this?
What?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Paul Simon, You Can Call Me Al.
Yeah, no.
One of the greatest music videos of all time.
Him and
Never
Chevy
s-
Chase.
Yeah.
It's not ringing a bell. Still no.
Really?
Yeah. That's rare. That doesn't happen to me too often.
Oh, I love this song.
Yeah.
Such a good song.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm shocked.
I'm gonna argue on such a good song, but
Oh, it's a great song. It's a great song. And Jeff's gonna cut your mic.
Yeah.
He's gonna cut your mic.
That's it.
On a Yacht Rock Friday.
We're
you pulled
skipping Metal
this?
Monday.
You pulled this? What are we doing? Come on, son. All right. Last night, Luka Doncic beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 124-103. Kyrie Irving was there too.
I mean, he watched.
It was the Luka show, though, and it started in that first quarter. A
Goodness
35-point first quarter by the Dallas Mavericks, 20 from Luka Doncic. By the way, the Timberwolves scored 19 in the first frame. That game was over at the jump, and you saw when Luka, he had his, first 4 threes in a row?
And
Just
they were all from basically 30 feet.
yuck.
Step back
yeah.
fadeaways into the left corner.
And,
And it's the slowest step back you've ever seen, and still there's nothing you can do about it. And he had a fan waving a handkerchief, talking about how much he was crying to start the game. And he hit one, looked at the fan. He hit another one, talked to the fan. Hit another one, talked to the fan again. Hit another one, and you could hear a pin drop in that place.
You don't wanna be
That
that
man
guy.
ripped the soul out of that city. I haven't seen somebody go in and just step on somebody's couch like that since Rick James.
yeah,
It was insane.
yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Have your couch.
I mean, zero bleeps given.
Yeah,
That was
and
that was a masterclass.
to end the night by saying, "Who's crying now, MFer?"
Mhm.
So good.
36, 10, and 5.
Yeah.
In 37 minutes on 14 of 22.
He was
Good God.
terrifying.
And again, this is that stat. Luka Doncic, following a loss in the playoffs, is the most destructive force in NBA history. He has scored more following a loss in the playoffs and been more efficient than anyone. Jordan, Braun, everyone. Bill, Wilt, everyone. And he did it again. He lost at home. He said, nah, man, I'm getting the hell out of this state and I'm going home and having a beer.
And look, this all came down to like
Until
we-
Michael Finley said, "Not so fast."
Yeah, we'll get to that. We went down the roads of like, hey, Derek Lively being back and him playing, it was effective. It didn't matter.
No.
None of it
No,
mattered.
Luka made sure nothing mattered.
Last night was the epitome of stars win in the playoffs. And it's not just stars get calls. When your stars show up, you will win in the playoffs, especially if you're not getting the same level of contributions coming back from the other side. And you look no further than the Minnesota Timberwolves, where it was a slow start. Karl Anthony Towns, again, not being able to connect on 3-pointers. He was effective,
And
but
Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, their numbers were terrible.
They were padded. They were
padded by
padded.
the second half of the game was done, and their souls were gone.
And that game was over when you head into the locker room at, was it 69-40?
40? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was that
69
time.
to 40. It was like, yeah, good night, Charlie. This thing is donezo, and it doesn't matter. And that, to me, is when you're looking at, the NBA Finals matchup, right? And we've seen Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, one of the great things that they do is you'll have their disappearing acts, but it's usually like Jason Tatum later in games, right? Not necessarily a 4-quarter disappearing act. It'll be like in the 4th quarter in crunch time, and Jason Tatum's numbers are great. That's what I'm looking for the most in this NBA Finals, is that
You can't slowly work your way into this game.
you are going to see stars shine bright in the NBA Finals. I'm really excited for it.
I am too, and I think you saw this is the whole. Again, tooting my own horn. This is the whole thing why I was like, Luka Doncic is the most terrifying player coming into the playoffs because of this, of what he's been doing and everything that has transpired since they traded for Washington and Gafford. You saw there was a play last night in the first quarter where Doncic has already hit a couple of threes, so the pressure's there. They're running out him a little bit more. They did not get the ball out of his hands fast enough. That's for damn sure. But he just kind of weaves through the lane and he bends over and dribbles the ball like 2 inches off the floor to keep anybody else from getting to it. While still bent over and the ball 2 inches off the floor, Gobert steps up, Cat doesn't dig, and Lively slides behind. In one fell swoop, he scoops the ball up with one hand, pops it over Gobert's head to a lob to Lively. Like that. And it was just like, oh, you can't do anything. You can't. There's no doing anything here. He's hitting shots at 30 feet off step backs, and he's also able to throw a lob over a 7'1" monster interior defender to pinpoint precision. And you're just like, when you're at that, when you can do that all the way at the rim, pull the entire team down to the rim and still find the lob and hit the 30-foot three, there's nothing you can do.
I think the scariest part about this Mavericks team too is Luka doing all of that. It affords Kyrie Irving the ability to sit back and pick and choose his time.
Attack second sides. And Kyrie Irving might be the most terrifying player in the NBA attacking on a second side.
Who I think with everything that has surrounded Kyrie, we forget what a creator he is and what he can be in the NBA. Like, he was a star that he was shining so bright at the beginning of his career.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went to Brooklyn. And it just went,
well, Boston. It was when it started, and it started in his last year in Cleveland. You know,
and it just but Brooklyn was where
it got
his stardom
sideways.
was just like, what the hell are you doing?
Remember Boston
dude?
saging the court, you know, all that nonsense. You know,
stomping on Lucky the logo in the middle of the floor in Boston too, and on his return. Like, it was just like, and then by the way, they get Boston. You have so many of these crossovers of whether it's Porzingis, who played for the Mavericks. Yeah. You know, Kyrie used to play for Boston. Like, it's going to be a hell of a NBA Finals because you have all of these storylines that can cross over. But with Kyrie Irving, we forgot just how special he can be. And then you see him side by side with Luka being able to play second fiddle. And being willing to do it too they're really scary. And they would not be this good if Derek Lively had to start. The PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford trades are incredible. Mm-hmm. And they have paid dividends that have gotten them to the NBA Finals.
Seeing them in the locker room, it was hilarious. Talking about starting at the bottom, now we're here.
PJ Washington giving how you go from Charlotte to the NBA Finals.
Tyler Harrow tweeted or replied on IG with like, so how the hell does that happen? How do you go from being in Charlotte to being in the NBA Finals? Like, that's a real come up.
That is one of the best things that you could see a player ever yell into a live stream.
Also, if you're one of those organizations, it's tough.
It's true.
Oh, I know, but I mean, it's
true.
It's tough, and, you know, and everybody's seeing that. The other thing that's come out of this is the Kyrie Luka backcourt. I've seen people who I trust who are like, this is the most offensively talented and gifted backcourt ever. They're not caught in the moment either.
The tag court, talented and gifted. Mm-hmm. They're in tag. All right, I like it.
But I mean, you start thinking about it. Luka all time he's going to go down as one of the greatest offensive players the game has ever seen. Like, he's already well down that path.
Boy, he's played in the NBA for 6 seasons. He's been first team All-NBA 5 of them.
Yes. He has a legitimate chance if again, pacing to come close to or break LeBron's scoring record.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to play for 20 years. I think he's going to have a nice hefty post-career, as it were.
Good for him though.
I don't think he's that guy. But pacing, he's already ahead of LeBron. To put in like perspective, the level at which he scores, It is absolutely insane what he is doing. And if you look at his playoff numbers, he's one of the 3 best playoff performers of all times right now. If you look at his output and his efficiency, he's one of the 3 best playoff performers of all time.
Pretty dang good.
And he's in year 6. It's nuts. It's
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. And you throw in Kyrie Irving, who we talked about yesterday, is maybe the best Robin ever.
Well, Scotty was
It's- I
pretty
mean,
good.
But Scotty's certainly more tilted towards the defensive side of the ball, where
What do we do with Shaq and Kobe?
the argument was always that Kobe was the Robin, but I think you were dealing with 2 Batmen there.
Yeah, but I know. But at what level do you go from Batman and Robin to 2 Batmen though? And that's the thing, because
think-
you could make the argument, and maybe in the NBA
That's the thing is
Finals we
Kyrie
do
is
see
that.
the argument of Kyrie could take over a game in this NBA Finals where you're like, whoa.
Well, I mean, we saw him do it in a game 7. He
Yeah.
got with 41 points. Like, we know what he's capable of doing. There are 16 game players and there are 82 game players, and those 2 guys are 16 game players.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the real brass tacks of what happened
Mm.
last night. Beergate. What is Michael Finley doing? That after Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the NBA Finals are now set. Game 1 on Thursday with the Celtics hosting the Mavericks. Boston, their 23rd appearance in the Finals, looking for championship number 18. Dallas, meanwhile, it's their 3rd appearance. They won the title in 2011. The Celtics early 6.5-point favorites for Game 1. They are minus 225 to win the series. The Oregon Ducks baseball team starting the Santa Barbara Regional against WCC champion San Diego. You can hear it on 910 ESPN Portland. It is currently the bottom of the 2nd, and we are still scoreless. Oregon State later on hosting Tulane. First pitch at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. The Mariners looking to start a new winning streak, hosting the Angels for a 3-game set. Brian Wu on the hill for Seattle. Jose Soriano for Los Angeles. 7:10 first pitch on Apple TV+. The Mariners still 3 games ahead of the Rangers for the American League West lead. ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Bills signing Olympic gold medalist wrestler Gable Steveson, who will try to join Bob Hayes as the only athlete to win both a gold medal and a Super Bowl ring. And in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Oilers and Stars tied at 2 games apiece. Game 5 tonight in Dallas. Puck drops at 5:30 on TNT. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
it's not easy. It was very hard road, very hard, but we are here. Obviously we're not done. We need 4 more, but I think today we all deserve to enjoy this win.
Luka Doncic, after the emphatic Game 5 victory for the Dallas Mavericks. Hey, we all deserve to enjoy this victory. We just want to celebrate a little bit.
Absolutely, as brought to you by your beer company.
Luka Doncic, video surfaced on the internet of Luka Doncic in the hallway talking to his dad, who's pretty hulked out.
You can see where the genetics come from.
What's up with Luka's mom, his hot mom?
Hot mom? She'd probably being a hot mom somewhere.
Oh, man. She was great on draft night.
She was. Star of the show.
But Luka's out in front of the locker room. He's talking with his dad. He's having a cold one, taking in everything that is winning the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm. Which he has not done before.
Enter executive, former Maverick great, Michael Finley. Slam dunk contest champion, Michael Finley.
Did he win?
I thought he did the reverse, between the legs, bam, hammer. But Michael Finley comes in, and he takes Luka's beer, tells him congratulations, and then just walks away. And the video is priceless. Of Luka is just kind of sitting there, and he just kind of shrugs his shoulders like, oh, well, I guess I can't drink in this hallway anymore. Michael Finley took his beer.
And he said something about the camera. As in, cameras, dude. Which is like, it's either they don't want a player being seen on camera drinking a beer, which is hilarious because you're spraying each other with champagne, and in a victory parade that's 4 hours long, you had absolutely S-canned the entire Warriors.
Well, and how many beer commercials are probably shown during every game,
that's
too?
the other part of this. Not only that, like the scoreboard stanchion is brought to you by this alcohol company. It's like, can we? This is like yesterday. The whole like not having beer on flights because somebody got a DUI. No, stop being dumb about this. Stop with all of that. Stop with the framing of this. Look, there's photos of Luka Doncic being called Hookah Doncic because the man's housing a hookah and pounding a beer. He's a grown-ass adult who's having a beer.
Well, didn't Michael Finley go to Wisconsin? Where isn't that like what they do there? Don't they just like drink beer?
Yes.
Is it because it
Play
wasn't
basketball.
Spotted Cow? He's like, no.
I don't know if it wasn't
Only
like a brand
Spotted
sponsor
Cow.
or something, or a team or league sponsor or something, but it was just the whole situation, while funny, is still very dumb. The look on Luka's face is like, oh, you're going to take this one? That's fine. I'm going to go grab a 12-pack.
I'm just going to Stone Cold Steve Austin this thing.
That would have been
Just
hilarious.
take them both down.
Just crack them both up on the PR stage.
His face was priceless, though. He just kind of shrugged his shoulders like, well, all right. It wasn't the first time Michael Finley had
Taking a
walked by
beer.
him and just took his beer and been like, no, Luka, no. It's like, dude, this was after the game. It's not before the game.
Yeah.
It's not like, who is our hero that we pounded a beer and a hot dog before the game? The guy who was shot.
Oh, God.
What was that legend's name that we talked about? The basketball
Yeah,
player.
no, he
I
played
forget.
in New Mexico.
Yeah.
God
yeah.
dang it.
Gary something?
Yeah, I think you're on.
You are into something.
Yeah.
God, I can't remember his name. Hell, Steve Kerr used to say Tony Kukoc used to like what was it? He would God, smoke a cigarette, take a crap, and eat something, pound something at halftime.
Well, there was a time. Remember when the Blazers played the Utah Jazz in the Coliseum for a preseason
Yeah.
game? I was walking down the loading dock, and I think it might have been Mehmet Okur.
Oh, yeah.
He was burning a heater on
Yeah.
the loading dock
You
of
know-
the Coliseum as I was going into the arena.
Yeah, no.
It was
Mehmet
like- I was
Okur
like-
hitting a heater, 100%.
I was like,
The Big Turk himself?
I was sitting there, I was looking at my watch. I'm like, I'm up against it. Like, game time is soon, buddy.
Yeah.
And he was up there huffing up and down the court.
Yeah, if you had named anybody in the past 25 years of basketball who was hitting a heater at halftime or before a game,
It was like
he
right
would have
before
been
the
top
game.
3.
And
Well,
it was a
good thing-
preseason game, and it was like 20 minutes before.
And Vladdy was before more than 25
I
years
was
ago.
going to say Vladdy. Well,
Yeah,
no, he was
we
still-
likes to potty.
He was still playing in the early 2000s. Remember those Kings?
I
team?
guess that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Vladdy, Mehmet Okur, like that's your. I'm gonna just rip a heater before the game, and probably at halftime, all-star team right there.
That's right.
They-
That's right.
The Balkan dudes and the Turkish dudes, man, they like their cigarettes.
I could have pictured a Bill Lane beer second down heaters, too.
I mean, we literally have photos of Luka Doncic hitting the hookah.
Yeah.
Like, Can we just stop trying to put the false veneer up of BS?
Yeah.
Stop protecting. Stop pretending.
Ooh, this is a good one. Adam Morrison used to like rip heaters before games.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
heard
yep,
I can
those.
see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That mustache, it craves a cigarette.
I was gonna say, it looks like it smells like Camel Lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I saw somebody buy 2 packs of Marb Red 100s the other day at the gas station. I was like, wow. Number one, still buying cigarettes, which
Yeah.
you don't see very often anymore because
They're-
they're $12 a pack.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious,
It's a-
Clark?
It's like $11.90. I was
Jeez.
blown away because they were like, it's $23. And I was like, what?
One day back in the day, the wife and I, we were on the way to the coast before we had kids and stuff, and when we still smoked cigarettes, and we were out, and so we were pulling up like, ooh, there's Oni's. So we go to run into Oni's on Highway 26 and go in there to grab a pack of cigarettes. I'm like, hey, can I get some Camel Lights? And she goes, I got Marlboro Red 100s. I'm like, what else do you got? And she goes, I got Marlboro Red 100s. It's like, okay, that'll do.
What about Virginia Slims? Do you have
Got any of
those?
But yeah, I just thought about that. Like, number one, somebody's still buying cigarettes, which cool, good, great for you. Number two, cowboy killers,
Yeah.
100s.
Yeah.
And I looked at this person. Not the person you. They had to have buying them for someone else. They had to have been. That cigarette looked like it would kill that person. And I was just like, there's no way in hell you have ever put the tasty deliciousness of a cowboy killer up to your lips. Your skin is far too still stretched and smooth. It was insane. It was a bit of a shock for me.
That is funny.
It's so weird to see somebody smoking in the wild now.
It really is. Well, do you know what the Marlboro Man's name was?
No.
It's Sam Darnold's grandfather.
I do remember that.
His name is Dick Hammer.
God bless.
Stop it.
Yep. Richard Bernard Hammer.
Dick Burnhammer?
Yeah, he was the Marlboro Man.
That's right, I said it.
Yep. So,
you know how cool you got to be named Dick Hammer and get away with it?
Man, pretty awesome. He played football at USC, or no, volleyball at USC, basketball and volleyball USC.
He was a Tallman.
Yeah. They called him Captain Dick because he was the captain of the team.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
it's like my dentist in the Air Force, Major Love.
Wow.
He was
I
cool.
bet he was not as soft and bubbly as his name would indicate.
No, he was not. But he was a captain, and he pulled me aside one day. We were talking, and he's like, "I did it." I was like, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Got my boards. I made it."
Major.
I'm like, "No." He goes, "Major Love. It's
Major
happening."
Did he immediately start a career in R&B?
No, not that kind of guy.
Damn. That would have been sweet, though.
Yeah. No, he's great.
Or yacht rock.
Great dude, though.
Or yacht
Great
rock.
dude.
Or yacht rock. All right. I bet he knows the song "You Can Call Me Al."
Probably does.
Hey,
He's a Renaissance man.
Speaking of USC, is it Fight On or Wave the White Flag?
A little bit of both.
story came out earlier this week, and I've heard Colin Cowherd try to carry the water for USC on it.
Shout out, Colin.
Lincoln Riley trying to get out of USC's game against LSU to start off the season in Vegas.
They tried to do it 2 years ago.
Yeah, and
The second he got there, he wanted out of it. And I feel two ways about it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it on one end, in the sense of the way the schedule was going and knowing that you're going to go to the Big Ten, because they had a pretty good understanding when he took the job of what was going to happen, because he got there and they left for the Big Ten, 2 months later?
Mm-hmm.
If that, if I remember the timeline right. So I would imagine that the AD probably clued him in as to where that was going. But the flip side of that is, like, you should sign up for these kind of games for the marquee matchups. And I get the argument against it because and we'll talk about this later. The SEC is out there only playing 8 conference games anyways. So why add another one for you when they're not going to do that? And in the position that puts you in. So I can see it both ways. And then there's the other part of it, which I don't know how much USC is playing into this. I'm going to imagine they are as a business partner, knowing that the SEC is the ESPN turf, whereas the Big Ten is Fox. And because Fox did get involved in this process and tried to get them out of it as well.
I think that when you look at it, because, well, they don't want their first game being on ESPN. But at the same time, I look at it more as you're USC.
Yeah, then that's where I fall on the whole, like, play anyone who's in front of you.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you are, like that's the whole point.
You're one of, 2 schools that has never played an FCS opponent, right? Like, you've always hung your hat on that. And the idea that it makes your path easier to get to the college football playoff if you don't play LSU at the beginning of the year, that's also ridiculous, because if you play, the whole purpose of having like the 12-team playoff is you can suffer some losses. Yeah. It's how good do you look? And what you're trying to duck is the fact that, all right, we're not going to look that good. Well, and you're kind of signaling that.
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago.
You're not talking about the 12-team playoff, though.
But they were. They absolutely were.
Well, no, but they didn't think it was going to be this year.
You are sitting there and looking at the idea that, our path is going to be easier. No, your path's going to be hard no matter what, because you're USC. Now Colin is like, you don't have to play Notre Dame. Why play Notre Dame anymore? Because it's a rivalry game. Yes. Rivalry games are what make college football great.
That one I don't. That's going ridiculous. Away is very stupid. Also, Notre Dame should not get an invite to anything after seeing their schedule, for the love of God. That is one of the most insanely soft schedules I've ever seen, and the fact that they're somehow going to get some sort of automatic consideration is absolutely bonkers.
Well, they have to be in the top 12.
Yeah, they better be. Good Lord. Oregon State's schedule is going to be tougher this year.
Well, you got to play USC. They got Stanford. Yeah. They got SC. Who else do they have? Who does Notre Dame play this year?
Oh God.
Usually it's pretty tough.
Normally, yes, it's not.
Oh. Well, hey, go ahead and do it. Like, then they have A&M, which is an okay game, Purdue, Stanford, Louisville, Miami, Ohio, Northern Illinois. Yeah, that's not a great schedule this year.
Georgia Tech, Navy, Virginia, Army.
Yeah, Florida State, USC. I mean, they'll have 1, 2, 3, maybe four ranked opponents. You'll have 4 ranked opponents with A&M. Louisville should be ranked this year. Florida State should be ranked this year. And USC should be ranked this year. I mean...
And the ones that aren't?
The ones that aren't are
some
not
of the worst teams in the country.
Very good.
It's not even like there's a little something there. It's like, no, it's horrendous. But back to USC, I did not like the fact that this came, not that it came out. I did not like the fact that they were pursuing this.
Yeah, it's a weird
thing. I was like, really? This is dumb.
But at the same time, like, when he took over at USC and this started, 2 years ago or whatever, what I find interesting is that it continued up to a couple of months ago to where they were actively pursuing it. And LSU's just like, no, like, we're not going to move out of this game. And you make the good point of the SEC only plays 8 conference games. So this is basically a 9th game that helps bolster their schedule a little bit more. And it gives you a big win early. I think that with USC being where they are just a couple of months ago, even trying to get out of this, they're sitting there going, "It's going to take our defense time."
Yep.
And it
And they
will.
didn't want this right
And
out
I
of the
don't,
gate because it's an entirely new defense, an entirely new staff.
and they are going to get dragged
By
in
it.
recruiting
Yes.
if LSU goes and mops the floor with
Yes,
them.
which I
And it's
expect
physical
to
up front.
I expect to happen.
So it's a really weird time with USC because they have improved a lot of their weaknesses and a lot of their holes. But anytime that you're losing as much in the skill positions, and obviously when you lose number 1 overall draft pick in Caleb Williams, it's going to be an interesting year to see if the magic is still there for Lincoln Riley, especially heading into the Big Ten, where they got a very tough schedule that is in front of them, and you're going to be going to cold weather places late in the season, which we know on the West Coast, it was always, you want USC coming up to Oregon, going up to Washington in late October and November because they're a completely different team then. Now you're going to be heading to the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
that's going to
cold
be
bites a little bit more.
whole different level of cold there.
Yeah, watching how, and everyone's like, well, Washington's used to playing in the cold. No, you're not.
You think they're going to have
Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA going to the Wisconsins and Penn States of the world in late November? It's different.
Do you remember the video last year before they came to Oregon of the guy with the little sprinkler sprinkling
God,
the
yes,
the
the
footballs
water,
and the punt returners? Do you think they're going to be there like
Snow machine?
liquid nitrogen just spraying it in the air?
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's not full on like the Miami Dolphins traveling above the Mason-Dixon line, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close. They're not used to it, and it's gonna. And it was like, well, Oregon and Washington will be fine. No, they won't. It's a level of cold that is different in the Midwest. You hit that Wisconsin, Northwestern, hell, Michigan. Penn State, like those schools in late November, man. Like,
Yeah, but at least you can get down to at least the 50s or 40s here.
yeah,
You know,
but I'm talking about when it starts snowing and it starts biting.
they don't have to go anywhere really late in the year though. They have
Who,
Notre
SC?
Dame at home. They go on the road to UCLA. Nebraska's at home. November 2nd, they go up to Seattle.
Oh no, I'm talking about like historically, just going
yeah.
through the Big Ten.
Other
It's
than
gonna be,
that, in future years, it's
Yeah.
going to be worse. This year's not going to be that bad for them.
No, USC's travel schedule is not as bad as it could have been this year. Next year, I bet it's going to be a gauntlet.
Next year, going to Nebraska in mid-November
Yeah, it's
and
gonna
Notre
suck.
Dame in late November
Yeah.
might be different.
Yeah, and honestly, Nebraska's another one where you don't think about it getting cold, and by God, does it get otherworldly cold there?
Yeah, it does. It's chilly willy. Chilly willy. All right. So USC, stop ducking people.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
very
Come
dumb.
on. Come on. You're USC,
Yeah.
for God's sakes. All right. Chips on shoulders are everywhere. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
No time for a traditional in-ground vegetable
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on the Fan 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, youtube.com/1080am the Fan, twitch.tv/1080am the Fan. Thanks for partying with us. Autotown GMC presents the 10th annual Fan Golf Classic out at Langdon Farms Golf Club. Afternoon round sold out. Morning round is filling up fast. And really it is. It is, if you are thinking about it, if you want to get down on the Fan Golf Classic, get your foursome ready. Get this thing going. It is Thursday, July 11th. Matt's Barbecue has got their food. The award-winning meats that Matt's Barbecue provides. We'll have the usual array of craft beverages going to be in effect all over the course. Victor Rico's Mexican Food is back with their breakfast burritos for that morning round. Warm up in the Michelob Ultra driving range. We got the Doers par 3 6th hole where all of the shows are going to be broadcasting live at the course, and we're going to be matriculating our way around the course into that par 3 6th hole where we're going to be hanging out with all you. So go sign up at 1080thefan.com right now for all the deets. And hey, if you're single or a double, I know of a foursome of a couple of P1s that are looking for two dad. So you can reach out on the Vancouver Ford text line at 503-864-6326. You can reach out to me on Twitter, and I can point you in the right direction. All right? We can navigate these waters here if you're one or two looking to join up with the group. All right. We got the NBA Finals coming up. And this is going to be the insufferable battle of who's got the bigger chip on their shoulder, Boston or Dallas. Boston has got the can they finally get over the hump? Can Jason Tatum finally climb the mountain? With the additions of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps back on the floor today. Huh? How about that? But then you have Dallas, which they put it all together, looking for the second championship. And the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie, can he do it without LeBron? Can Luka move on from hookah to finally climb the top of the mountain in honor of the great Bill Walton and throw it down, big man? I've got a question as we kind of parse through all of this, though. If you were to start a franchise, right? Go through and with the players on both these rosters, give me the guys, like kind of rank them on who you would start your franchise with. I mean, obviously, I think we all start with number one being Luka.
Yes.
Where do you
We're
go
not
from
in
here?
Boston, so yes, we have sense.
In what?
We're not in Boston, so we have sense.
I think even the people in Boston might be Luka is better than Jason.
I don't, I've already seen like the, well, let's take a look at, see, where you do the whole, like, which players are best.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, Tatum, just barely edges out Doncic. And then, well, clearly Jalen is way better than Kyrie. And then probably Kristaps, that's a matchup that they win to. And it's like, all right, guys, let's chill here. It's Luka, and it's Luka by a pretty substantial margin.
Yes. If you are looking at it objectively, Luka is one of the best players in the world.
The three best players in the world right now, healthy, hand down. It's Jokic, Giannis, Luka in whatever order you want to put them in, depending on how you frame it. Luka's there. He's that dude. So yes, for me, it's unabashedly, unequivocally Luka. Number 2 is Jaylen Brown.
Oh, you've got Jaylen Brown, huh?
For me, yes.
Okay.
Then Tatum. Then it gets interesting because I don't know if I go with Derek White or Drew.
You don't have Jason Tatum?
No, I said I would go Tatum. I said Brown then Tatum.
Oh, okay.
I said then Tatum.
Okay.
No, Tatum's third for me. But
Okay.
then I don't know if I would go Brown. I'm sorry, if I don't know if I would go to White, the other color here, White or Drew. Drew's a harder kind of thing to work with necessarily, but his talent on the top end is so good. Josh Hart's getting kind of killed right now because he was on, I want to say it was Thanasis Antetokounmpo's podcast, talking about impact. And he said Derek White's impact is probably the most pronounced on the Celtics because he just, whenever you need a play, he makes it. The right pass, the right read, the shot. I mean, he has had multiple game winners, like, game-stealing steals deflections.
His
like,
game is elevated since he shaved his head.
It has. Bald
has.
Derek White is the truth. And he's like the highest level glue guy possible. Like, if he was your best player, you're not going to the top. If he's your third best player, you're in a really good spot.
So, are you going with Derek White or are you going with Drew?
I'm going to go Derek White.
At number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Derek White.
And then Drew.
And then Drew.
Yeah.
And we still have not heard Kyrie Irving or Kristaps Porzingis yet.
No, I'd go Kyrie and then Kristaps.
Kyrie, then Kristaps. Okay.
And for they're opposite ends of the spectrum for a very specific reason.
Okay.
It's Kyrie's size is the impact against him, and Kristaps's size and how you fit him in is the impact thing for me.
So, of your top 7 players in this series, okay, 5 of them are Boston Celtics.
Yep.
4 of them are 2 through 5. Right?
But the gap between 1 and 2 is a lot bigger than people are willing to give it.
And I think this is where we have that conversation. Oh, Ducks just hit a home run.
Yes, they did.
They have a 1-0 lead over San Diego. When you look at this, you go Luka 1, Tatum, Kyrie, Brown 2, 3, 4. No, excuse me. Brown, Tatum, White, Drew 2, 3, 4, 5. Kyrie 6, Kristaps 7.
I could see an argument for putting Kyrie above Derek White, and I think I just value White, not necessarily with the Celtics.
Yeah.
But I guess we're talking about if we're starting a franchise. So I would put Kyrie above Derek White.
Is the sum of all of the parts with the Boston Celtics good enough to beat the Dallas Mavericks?
Absolutely.
That then becomes the question.
And right now, I will make my pick. I am taking the Mavericks because so often in the finals, who has the best player? The best team doesn't always win. Who has the best player? Go back in the history of the NBA Finals. Who's the best player? Who wins? Look at it over and over and over again. That is the thing. Because if you can't stop that, and nobody, whether it's the young and athletic Oklahoma City Thunder, whether it's the biggest and one of the most physical teams in the league in the Minnesota Timberwolves, whether it's some version of the Clippers, they have gone through and they've buzzsawed them all. Just buzzsawed through them. And the thing about it is their path has been significantly tougher than Boston's.
Way tougher.
And they have crushed it.
But that is also, you look at, Boston's lost 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost
For sure.
2 games.
For sure.
And one of them was a historic shooting night.
Yep.
By the Miami Heat. And the other one was just a off in La La Land. Right? So I look at that and I go, well, Boston has just 64 wins in the regular season, 2 losses through 3 rounds of the playoffs. Like, they have just been a team on a mission. And you have, like, we sit there and we look at this and we do this exercise where you go, all right, who are the best players in the series? 5 of the top 7 players in the series. You will lean towards Boston. I look at it and I go, the matchup of, you have Drew Holiday on Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to get Jaylen Brown on Luka.
They're going to swap. They're going to take time. It's going to be White at times. It'll be Horford at times. It'll be Porzingis at times. It'll be Tatum at times. That's the thing about Luka is you can't give him the same look, because if you give him the same look, he's going to torture you.
And then the idea of depth in this, I think the front court of Boston is a question.
Yep. And that's the thing is, can Porzingis stay on the floor? Because what we saw from the Boston Celtics against Indiana was that middle of the paint with Al Horford on the floor was a bloodbath.
You can't play Luke Cornett in the NBA Finals.
No.
I mean,
you can't. I don't think Sam Hauser is the only guy on their bench that I think you can play, like legitimately real minutes. I think Pritchard's going to get murdered.
Well, yeah, because he has to guard Kyrie Irving.
And that's the thing. Is like
now you can put him in maybe when bench minutes when they go to Exum or.
The thing about that is Exum's so big and so strong Now you have to worry about Pritchard if they rotate, if they get put in, if the Celtics go to their zone and he gets put down there as the low man, then they're in trouble. And that's what when we had Kirk Henderson on, he was talking about Jason Kidd being a great 16-game coach. You saw, as weird as this is to say, you saw Jason Kidd out-coach every coach.
Yes. This is what I've been saying throughout the entire playoffs. Why aren't we giving Kidd any credit? And it's like, well, because it's Jason Kidd. It's like,
about the three
he's
coaches
done a really damn good job.
Dusty, think about the 3 coaches you went up against. Coach of the year, Mark Dagnall.
Yep.
The runner-up, Chris Finch. Previous coach of the year, Ty Lue.
He's done a hell of a job.
He's out-schemed all of them.
Yeah, and look.
That's been an impressive. And look,
and he doesn't get credit because everybody's like, well, you got Luka and Kyrie. Well, yes, but you've done a phenomenal job. A lot of teams, look at the Clippers. The Clippers have 2 stars, 3, well, 2 stars.
But yes, you saw the wrinkle that the Mavs put in was putting in the strong side another 3-point shooter. So, and then running Lively and Gafford on the same strong side so that you couldn't sink down, because if you sank down, guess what? If you sank down to take away that lob and you really wanted to take that lob away, PJ Washington's sitting in the corner.
Yeah. And I think one thing that Kidd needs a little bit more credit for, stylistically, all 3 teams different too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Clippers, Thunder,
very different in how they attack.
And still
one wants to run with you. The other one wants to try to beat you to death physically. The other one's trying to outskill you and spread you out. Like, and each and every time, it's been really impressive.
All right. Well, this is gonna be a fun one. I like this little exercise here. You've got 5 of the top 7 being Boston Celtics, but you're picking the Mavs, and right now plus 175 money.
Yeah,
on the Mavs.
If you don't think
I got it
that.
at plus 185 last night.
Yeah,
just because, I mean, it's worth the juice. It's the NBA Finals. Take the dog.
100%.
Let's go. I mean, it's not going to be a slam dunk lopsided victory for the Boston Celtics, but
I don't think it's going to be lopsided for anybody. I think it's going to go 7.
I think it's going to be a hell of a series. I think it's going to be a fight. Clash of the Titans. I'm excited for it.
I think you're going to have a couple.
I'm not
games.
I'm not writing off the Boston Celtics by any stretch of
I'm
imagination.
not either.
I feel like the Boston Celtics are going to win the NBA Finals because of the defensive matchups that they can have.
You picking them
with their top 5? Well, I mean, I bet on the Mavericks, but that's the financial gain that you can have off that of plus 185. I'll take the plus money, but I'll pick the Boston Celtics right now. I do want to see over the next 6 days, because we have 6 days until the NBA Finals start. How healthy Kristaps Porzingis is and how they feel about that. And that will make me feel a lot more confident in the Boston Celtics, because if they don't have Porzingis, they change so dramatically with that depth in the front court. All right, hey, follow the money, baby. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
It's the Fan on Demand.
The SEC has been mocked, shamed, and they haven't given a rip because they've just ruled college football for years. Because they only play 8 conference games, and everybody else is like, hey, what gives, man? One of the worst things about college football is that they do not have uniform scheduling, yet we are all supposed to sit there and look across the world of college football and judge who are the best 2 teams, who are the best 4 teams. Now, who are the best 12 teams?
Yeah.
Some teams play 8 conference games, some play 9.
Most play 9.
Some have no games against FCS opponents. Some have a couple games against FCS opponents. It is the thing that just drives me bonkers, is that you want to sit there and you want to give us the strength of schedule rankings. Spare me the strength of schedule rankings, okay? Because the thing about strength of schedule that I absolutely hate is that they're like, well, this opponent, they had 4 opponents over 500. Yeah, well, guess what? If 3 of your opponents play in the Sun Belt and the Mountain West, and that's not the same as having a Power 5 schedule where if you take a team that is 1 game over 500 from the Mountain West.
Is not Tennessee.
Well, I know, but this is San Jose State, right? If they go, 8-4 in a season,
sure,
are they as good as a 6-6 Cal team or a 5-7 Cal team?
No,
probably not. No, probably not. I mean, that's the reality of your strength of your schedule and the quality of opponent. It just drives me crazy when I hear that kind of stuff, because the SEC gets away with, like, their bottom feeder schools are not good at football.
They're atrociously bad.
They are bad. Is their top elite? Absolutely, 100%. Is their top deeper? Absolutely, 100%.
But it falls off a cliff.
And they've always been apprehensive of playing a 9th game because they're going to cannibalize themselves, and it'll cost them spots in a playoff. Well, with 12 teams, not anymore.
What was it? A&M and Kentucky haven't played in 15 years?
I don't think Georgia has ever been to College Station.
That's what it was. Ever been to A&M. Yeah.
And they joined the conference in 2010 or 11?
Yeah, it was 15 years. That was the thing.
Yeah. And they had not.
How is that possible?
8 conference games is how. And so now there's reports coming out of SEC meetings that the SEC may be willing to change their tune to 9 conference games, because ESPN could pony up $3 to $5 million per school per year if they go to a 9-game conference schedule.
That's all it took, huh?
That's a lot of money.
That's all it took, huh?
$3 to $5 million per school per year. That is so much money. But I think
more.
I think it is great for the game of college football if you have 9 conference games being across the board, every conference. I think the next move, when your fever dream of the NCAA evaporating and disappearing, and we have a commissioner of college football, I think the first order of action will be uniform scheduling and a central scheduling arm for college football. The Power 4 conferences all get together and they have a scheduling czar where the non-Power 4 schools, they can enter into a pool. The scheduling czar goes through, and very similar to the way the NFL does it, you do this thing, you can know, right, a year in advance if school's going to be good, bad, great.
Within a window.
You can have an idea, right?
Yeah.
Of pools of schools, and say you play the national championship game in January. You have in February, right? Mid-February, right around like Valentine's Day, right? President's Day, maybe, right? A week after the Super Bowl. You have a college football schedule release.
Should we do it like Champions League where you get a draw?
Yeah.
But you come from like pools of like, you have to play X amount of games against A League, B League, C League, D League, whatever, and those are based off
Sign me
all
up.
ratings.
But you do
I love that.
People are like, well, if the fans need time to schedule travel, February to August,
7 months
September,
is fine.
I think you're going to have enough time.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have enough time to schedule that thing
And
out.
also in the SEC, you're going like an hour either way. Shut up.
The thing that bothers me the most is 10-year scheduling.
It's dumb.
Like, I don't get.
I can't break my contract with this team because
I
we
do not
play a game in 2036.
Give a
What?
rip who Oregon plays when my 4th grade daughter is a freshman.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like,
We
what?
don't need to be doing this.
No.
It's like it's absolutely absurd the way that they schedule college football. So that is what I want. I want a college football czar to come in the first order of businesses, uniform scheduling. Everybody plays 9 conference games. We are going to make sure that we don't have a decade out of non-conference games being scheduled. We are going to make sure that there is still a seat at the table for these, because it does. These power conference games, they do fund the FCS and the smaller conferences. They do it.
Yeah.
And there is
They take $1 million to get absolutely kicked in the teeth. And that's the way of the beast.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it'd be great if they're like, hey, if you're going to get your teeth kicked in, we're going to make it worth it for you.
Yeah.
Right? And if you want to go ahead and if you're a Power 4 school and you want to play an FCS school, all right, well, we're going to match you up with somebody. And you better be careful what you wish for because you may get Sac State.
You may get an App State or a James Madison or something like that. And you're like,
and Portland
oof.
State may come up and whoop you, Washington State, and you may pay them a pretty penny to do it. But I feel like having that and having somebody in control of making these matchups, and look, if we're being realistic here, it'll all be based on an algorithm. And they're gonna pump it. They're gonna pump it all in on past success and what you're returning and all that stuff. But
and
give us
some weird bias towards the SEC.
Yeah, you can give us riveting matchups though, and that's all I'm asking for. And then you won't have Lincoln Riley taking a job in 2 years out saying I don't want to play LSU week 1.
No,
it's out of his control. It's out of the
it's
school's
already
control.
done. There's no negotiating done anymore.
Everything is centralized, and the first step is every conference agreeing to play 9 conference games.
See, now you're giving a reason for the NCAA to exist, but just not be called the NCAA or have a single person that ever worked for the NCAA in that office.
Ooh, yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Coming up on the worst day on the web, sometimes, the announcer's curse can be very, very, very real. Yeah. But first, here's the Big Kahuna, the Sports Center Update.
You mind if I have some of your tasty beverage to wash this down?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, the NBA Finals are now set. Game 1 next Thursday with the Celtics hosting the Mavericks. Boston in their 23rd appearance in the finals, looking for their 18th championship. Dallas, meanwhile, making their 3rd appearance. They won the title in 2011. The Celtics early 6.5-point favorites in Game 1. They are minus 225 to win the series. Mariners looking to start a new winning streak, hosting the Angels for a 3-game set. Brian Wu on the bump for Seattle. Jose Soriano for Los Angeles. 7:10 first pitch on Apple TV+. The Mariners 3 games ahead of the Rangers for the AL West lead. The Oregon Ducks starting the Santa Barbara Regional against WCC champion San Diego. You can hear it on 910 ESPN Portland. They are on their way to the top of the 6th. We're now tied at 1 apiece. Carter Garate with a solo home run for Oregon in the top of the 5th, and Ariel Armas tied it up with an RBI single in the bottom half of the inning. Stanley Cup playoffs continue this evening. Oilers and Stars tied at 2 games apiece with Game 5 tonight in Dallas. Puck drops at 5:30 on TNT. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Well, speaking of things that suck, it's the A's. It's always the A's.
Tell me more. They're not that bad.
Well, they're bad. They're just not.
They're major league in this son of a gun.
They're not the worst thing you've ever seen. And every now and then it happens. You get a little excited as the home announcer.
Yeah.
And then you maybe say something you regret a little early, like when the A's are taking on the Rays, and you get a batter up there who gets a pitch you just can't handle, and you start feeling yourself as an announcer, as we got here at the A's.
Bring in customer number 2. Hey Siri, it's not your night. Whiffs it 100. Feeling Mason Miller might have some payback in his back pocket for what Siri did to the A's yesterday. 0-1, and that's launched towards left field, and the payback comes at the bat of Jose Siri. Tied up the ball game with another homer.
That was Jenny Cavnar at the A's broadcast, and you could hear it. It's not your night, Siri. And look,
she did the iPhone thing. You're in the Bay Area. You do the hey Siri, it's not your night. Whoa.
Well, she also that sounded like maybe a little rehearsed.
Yeah, you think?
She had that one rehearsed. Look, all play-by-play that you get a little call, and you try it out.
Oh,
you try it out if you're trying to make something work. And she was feeling it because, to be fair, Jose Siri absolutely got tied in knots on that pitch.
Yeah.
And it was like, oof. Yeah, I that's one of those ones where you just go, maybe Siri, what was that pitch?
Well,
you go down that route, because can you play that one more time just so we can hear the sound of that home run?
Bring in customer number 2. Hey Siri, it's not your night. Whiffs it 100. Feeling Mason Miller might have some payback in his back pocket for what Siri did to the A's yesterday. 0-1, and that's launched towards left field, and the payback comes at the bat of Jose Siri.
Yikes.
That is the sound of a perfect.
Now,
if you're playing MLB The Show, that thing is barreled.
Here's the thing. Jose Siri has 5 home runs this year.
Not exactly a big bat.
2 of them were last night.
That's the part that's hilarious to me that I think is slept on. She's doing the whole, hey, Siri, it's not your night. He had already gone yard once.
He was 2 for 5 with 2 dingers.
Just amazing stuff.
And the night before, the payback from the night before, he had, oh my gosh, he had an RBI in a 4-3 win for the Tampa Bay Rays the night before. So payback from the night before, nope, 2 dingers.
And that one, that dang. you could have never ever have heard or seen a baseball game before, and if you just closed your eyes and you heard that sound,
that's a solid homer. Like, that's a homer broadcast if I've ever heard one before, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, holy camole.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Have you listened to a Warriors game?
No. I've heard nothing but awful things about the Golden State Warriors broadcast.
It's the most homer broadcast.
Like, I'm not
probably in North American sports.
I have talked to people who have said that the Warriors, for as good as they are on the floor, they are equally bad with their broadcast crew, and that sucks. Like, it's been like, I've heard that from several people, and I haven't never heard them, and so I have no frame of reference
it's Bob
here.
Fitzgerald, who does the Olympics. Like, you know his voice.
Yeah.
The second you hear him, you're like, oh yeah, know who that is. And it's Kalena Azubuike. But the Phoenix Suns, they're about as homer as that gets. Yeah. And everybody knows my feelings on that. Oops.
So do they.
My bad. followed probably closely by the Spurs and Nuggets. But the gap between those three teams and the Warriors is a lot like the gap between Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum. It's a big gap.
Okay.
It's some of the most homer broadcast you've... Look, I expect a level of home cooking.
Absolutely.
With the
That's
home
what
broadcast.
gets the people going.
Sure. But there's levels to it.
Yeah.
Like, Mike and Mike are disgusted at the level of homerism that Golden State shows. That's the levels that it goes
Mike
to.
Rice once ejected from a basketball game.
For going at... It wasn't Foster. It was Javi.
Yeah, Steve Javi.
Steve Javi, yeah.
And Javi deserved it.
He did. He was Scott Foster before Scott Foster.
Yeah, that's
So-
right. That's right.
But squirrel moment, Mike Rice's son back coaching in New Jersey, high school basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that came out just the other day.
Now, he was fired for throwing basketballs at Rutgers players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
that
tough.
sucks. Can't throw a basketball at a kid anymore, huh? What's the point of coaching?
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. It's probably what he was going with.
He went full on dodgeball with his coaching
I
methods.
saw Rip Torn do it. Worked for him. At least he didn't go and, try to taste his own urine. Dodgeball.
I do not remember that from dodgeball.
Yeah, he's like, I like to taste my own urine. It's sterile and it tastes good. You don't remember that?
Nope. The lines
Oh.
you remember, it's very similar to our algorithms. The lines you remember and the lines I remember from that movie are not the same.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Yeah. Great line, yeah.
Bold strategy.
I remember
Cotton.
the- I
Let's see
remember
if
the-
this one pays off.
I remember the urine one because it was like, what did he just say? God.
That's a good movie.
Oh, it is. So many lines. That one will always have a special place in my heart, too.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
LaFleur.
Cram it in your cram hole, LaFleur.
LaFleur.
Hey, we got them drops there. Oh,
Great cast.
I think they're gone now.
No cram hole?
Yeah. Oh,
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
yeah. There it is. That's what we got.
Truly great stuff.
We got some of the other ones. That is a good movie.
Getting the uniforms for the Dominatrix convention.
Yeah, getting disqualified because of beaver tranquilizers. Damn it, Bernice! They lost to the Girl Scouts. All right.
Good times. So there you go. He's finding a way to just stumble into it. You want to have a little sports crossover?
Sure.
How about we take an Olympic gold medalist and see what he can do in another sport?
Okay.
Let's get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 10 the Fan.
All right, somebody's screwing with me in here. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I've been sitting here like shivering in this studio. I walked out and I went to the bathroom. I came back and I was like, it was like walking to a walk-in freezer. And I said, Danny, it is cold in here. And you're like, it feels good. It was 62 degrees in this studio. 62 degrees.
To be clear, I did not touch anything because it felt good when I walked in this morning.
Yeah, you have Brandon Sprague to thank for that.
I say, was this him? Was this him getting even?
He's like, they are not going to yell at me.
He had it.
Dear God.
When you were gone,
I was like, this is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
No. So on the flip side of this, when you were gone, that monster had it set at 76 degrees.
Whoa.
So I came in here and I'm like,
whoa.
Why am I chewing on the air in the studio?
Yeah. I like being warm, but even I will say that's aggressive.
And
like that's like when you go to your grandparents' house, they're like keeping it at 80.
Yes. So I called him out and he tried to be like, no, it wasn't me. And I'm like, no. You've been sold out.
He went Shaggy. It wasn't me.
Yeah. I go, no, you've been sold out. His reply was name names. I go, all of them. Everyone sold it out. Everyone sold it. Like, this wasn't one. Everybody said that you were the one that did it. And he's like, he finally relented and said, I get cold. I'm like, put on some sweats, bro.
Yeah. God.
I was wondering why it felt so good when I got in here this morning.
So cold. I'm glad I'm not crazy because I was like, do I have like
His
a
lips
fever
are turning
right now?
blue and shiver.
What is going on? My nose is starting to run. I'm
have
just
a circulation problem.
Good Lord. I thought I was like going crazy. No, it just turns out, turn this place into a walk-in freezer and
we're in the break. He's like, no, go outside, walk outside the studio like a couple feet, and then come back in here and tell me it's not cold. And I was like, it feels hot outside.
That is one of the things about like workplace room temperatures. That may have been like the best thing about COVID is people working from home and not having that happen. It reminds me of The Office when Dwight took over and he put a lock over the thermostat and you see him with their like they put the pencil in between the little gaps to try to make it warmer in there. Workplace room temperature is probably got to be one of the most hotly contested points of friction in an office
There
space.
isn't, though, because
that and microwaving fish.
68
You're damn
or
right.
69 degrees is the proper temperature, and if you don't like it, bundle up. You
And-
can
and I'm
only
okay with that,
you can
yes.
only get so naked.
But
All the people are
room
like, I'm
temperature.
cold. I'm like, then wear more layers.
What I love is when you have like somebody that brings in the space heater under their desk, and because they know. They know they run a little cold.
Yeah,
they want to kick it up a notch. So
blow
they
a
bring in their own.
fuse.
They bring in their own space heater from home. It's great.
So you can do that if you're like,
I'm
if
about
you're
to bring
away,
my own space heater
if
into
you're
this.
away from people. But like if you're in an enclosed area like this and you do that, that's no. I'm gonna put that space heater somewhere. May not like it.
All right.
We did some news this morning. Gable Steveson, not to be confused with Stevenson, because that's what I think everybody who reads that thinks is what it says. It's Steve's son.
One of the most dominant wrestlers ever. American wrestlers. I mean, he's a gold medalist.
Yes, he's a largeman. He's signing with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. This makes sense. Sean McDermott, head coach of the Bills, big time wrestling guy. Like he is all in wrestler through and through. And so you're going to see football coaches will take this approach with a litany of guys. And this goes back to like the Austin Rivers thing, right? There's more guys that could play basketball or more basketball players that could play in the NFL than NFL players could play in the NBA. Very true. There is a particular skill set that you can accentuate in the game of football. And if you are a lineman, a linebacker, a running back, if you are playing in the box, wrestling is the best sport.
Yes. It's leverage.
It translates to the game of football like none other. It is leverage, it's hand position. It is using your body in balance to you use your body to fluidly move through movements, right?
Explosive.
And it be explosive, and it learns that connection of
Hip drive.
ankles, knees, hips, and exploding through. Like it truly is. Like if you are a football player wrestling, it does translate 100%. And when you have a guy that is a gold medalist wrestler, it will. Does he have what it takes to play in the NFL? No, because you got to be twitchy, you got to be fast. It's not just all about leverage, but a heavyweight wrestler being able to use his hand fighting abilities, his leverage
How to stay low.
the ability to move large human beings.
Drive through and be explosive.
I don't blame Sean McDermott for saying, we're going to give it a whirl, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go.
We see this with rugby players.
Yeah.
So why not wrestlers? I mean, you're not talking about just like any wrestler. You're talking about a massive human being who has been the best at what he does, which is moving people around.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what we may have Sean McDermott cracking the new code of finding. Remember Brock Lesnar? Brock Lesnar. He was what, Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah.
Did they bring him out? Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah. I think he did 2 years, 2 or 3 years in the NFL.
I doubt that Gable Steveson makes the team, but at the same time, I think he's he will surprise a lot of folks when he goes out there and puts on pads for first.
He's 6'1", 265 pounds. He's not lacking the measurables.
No, but that's still not a enormous defensive lineman.
No, it's an edge
in
guy.
terms of the NFL.
Yeah.
Like but with edge, does he have bend? Does he have speed? Is he going to be able to turn the corner, read an offensive lineman, and be able to have the processing of run, pass, or is he just going to be a pin your ears back and go guy? This will be fascinating because he doesn't have long leverage. He's going to have to use every bit of that leverage that he's been working on his entire life in the hand fighting to get past the long arms of offensive linemen. But
What's interesting is you're talking about a guy, though, at 265 that is already lean. What happens if you actually NFL weight room him or NFL weight room him?
Yeah, it'll be. I have no idea
Because his frame, he's got like I hate using this.
Then you're gonna have to put him in the middle.
But the kind of build that he has is very Aaron Donaldy.
Yeah,
like he's a very large dude.
That would be so great if Sean McDermott's like, I'm gonna find the next Aaron Donald here.
I bet you that's crossed his mind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald trained with knives. This guy's just training wrestling. Cauliflower here.
And the thing is, like, this isn't a guy who's like at the end of his wrestling career and he's in his like early 30s or something. He's 24 years old.
Yeah,
he's like this is entirely in his wheelhouse. He's athletically, he's just fine.
Yes, absolutely.
So I like these stories. These are fun. This is the I think this is like the new era version of what's his name for the Eagles.
Is he
what? The movie where he tries the open tryouts.
Oh, Vince Papale.
Yeah, Papale.
Invincible.
Yeah.
Now, is Gable Steveson? Is he like a wrestling hardo family? Because is he named after Dan Gable, the famous wrestler?
I mean, well, guess what? His name is Gable Dan Steveson. So
yeah, okay. So he was 100% named after Dan Gable, who I guess he was kind of bred to be a wrestler then at that point.
Well, he went to
Holy crap.
Apple Valley High School in Minnesota, which
I don't know what that means.
That's that. So you've got like
if you're gonna tell me like I should know what a wrestling powerhouse of a high school is, I wouldn't know.
No, you've got Minnesota, you've got Iowa, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Those are like your 4 wrestling high school regions.
Yeah, if we should know that, you should know you can call me Al.
Bingo.
I'm not,
Bingo. You've never heard this song, You Can Call Me Al.
I'm not saying you should know. I just recognized it because I lived out there. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this is like a wrestling lifer.
Yeah.
Because when you go to those schools, like that's what you do.
It's what you do. It's what you do. All right. And by the way, I did Dan Gable. This is going to be a total squirrel moment. Do you know he won the Art Abrams Lifetime Award by the Cauliflower Alley Club? If that isn't the most wrestling award I've ever heard, I don't know what is. The Cauliflower Alley Club gives out the Art Abrams Lifetime Achievement Award, and Dan Gable won that.
only way you'd make that more wrestling is if it was like the Arn Anderson Award.
The greatest thing ever. I didn't even know the Cauliflower Alley Club existed until right now. You go and you click on their Wikipedia link. Their logo
Literally cauliflower ear.
is a black and white photo of a cauliflower ear, and it says the Cauliflower Alley Club. God bless wrestlers.
They're a special group. They're a special.
They're
group. There's
amazing.
no doubt about it.
They're amazing. I love wrestlers.
The Vancouver Ford text line says, I believe Gable won the state track title in discus and 110-meter hurdles. I'm trying to verify
Pretty
that,
good.
but I can't find anything on that. But if he's a 260, 200, well, I guess in high school, probably like a 230-pound dude who won a state sprint title in Minnesota, where
Yeah.
you've got big cities and big athletes, that'd be pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
So
That's pretty cool.
it's a fun one to look at. Speaking of looking at stuff, let's go look at some more stuff. You like looking at stuff?
Yes.
I didn't like the conviction in your voice there. Do you like looking at stuff?
Yeah, I don't know where you're taking me down this
but-
road. I'm not going to just willingly go down a path I don't know with you.
Well, you're a coward. Rest of you can come
Smart.
along for the ride here in hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Hour number 3 here on a Friday afternoon on Danny and Dusty, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for being a part of the show.
What an exciting time.
Love to hear it.
Love you, bro. Yo, love you, dog.
Well, you wouldn't blindly hold my hand here because you're a coward.
No.
Coward.
Nope. Not going to do it.
All right, fine. Well, the folks, the good old folks at ESPN have released their latest mock draft for the NBA draft, now less than a month away. Dun, 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 dun.
We've got to bifurcate those two things.
You do. You do have to keep those two separate. There's been a change. Dun, 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 dun. And multiple places along in the draft. Number 1, no longer Alex Sarr, now Zachary Rizachet, the other
Wait,
French
what?
prospect. Really? Yeah. I've long held Rizachet in my top 3, top 5, probably since December. At one point in time, I was like, I could see him as a number 1. I still have Sarr, though. I don't. It's very hard for me to get away from Alex Sarr as the number 1 pick. And that we're a month away, it's probably some smokescreen season. You're probably going to get some changes. I would be surprised if the mock draft that comes out from ESPN the week of or the day before the draft doesn't look not in wildly different, but markedly different from today to then.
I mean, you have the list of guys, but when you look at Ariza and you look at Sarr, what are going to be the big pivot points for what Atlanta needs, though? And I think we'll determine that once we figure out what they're going to do with Trae Young.
Or DeJounte Murray.
But
I think no matter what you do, if you're talking about prospects, unless you're getting back an elite center, I don't think that you're gonna go that route of like not selecting Sarr. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't.
A 7'1" athletic runner who can get from end to end and play 94 feet.
From me. He is the best mover I've ever seen at that size. He's the best mover I've ever seen at that size.
And legitimately 7'1".
Yes, and the fluidity, to quote Andrew Nemec, oily hips.
Oily.
And the thing, so
Greasy.
if you get in the nuts and bolts of film, when you start watching guys defensively, most people, staggering majority of people, we have one hip that's more fluid than the other. Which is why if you skateboard, you're regular or goofy. You have one hip or the other is your forward preference with skateboarding, snowboarding, wakeboarding, whatever. You have one hip and that same thing happens in sports. That's why you have cornerbacks naturally, more often than not, they want to play one side of the field because their hips open up a certain way better, which is why you work on both. It's a thing that happens. You feel more comfortable naturally. When you're playing tennis, how you open up, what handed you are, how you want to turn your hips, where you want to position yourself because of the that's all just natural inline stuff. I say all that to say, when I watch Alex Sarr, you can't tell which hip is more dominant because he's able to switch direction at that size and stay in front of somebody. It's like, oh, good God. The last guy I saw do it that well that was surprising was LaMarcus. Do you remember in the 2010, 2014 period, he was incredibly big. People don't realize how much he actually weighed. But think about all the times that he got caught on switches and you never worried about it. It was one of those things where it's just it's fine. It was fine because it wasn't just because he was athletic. It was because he was so fluid at his size that you didn't see him getting shook. You didn't see him getting the Luka Rudy Gobert thing. And I'm not saying that Sarr wouldn't get broken off by Luka, but you saw Rudy do that kind of hip stumble where he couldn't recover. Sarr just kind of glides like water or down a chute. It's path of least resistance stuff. And I know how glowing this all sounds, and I mean that effusively, because his tools, his abilities, to me, scream that's a defensive player of the year in a non-Wemby world. And I don't know how you would justify anybody else in that spot. So ESPN putting Rizachet up here, I'm like, is there something more there?
Look, I don't care who Atlanta and Washington waste with their 1-2 picks because that's usually what happens. How does it affect the down spout from after Ariza Shea and after Sarr.
Well, if you get all the way down here, they have the Hornets changing their pick. We've talked about them as an inflection point. The Spurs taking Stephon Castle, which is something we talked about while you were gone, as Castle's kind of angled his way to not work out for teams that have a point guard in place, which just seems like a very natural way to force yourself to San Antonio, if you're smart. Well, that would also give perhaps the chance for the Portland Trail Blazers to take UConn big man Donovan Clingan.
Hey, now we're talking. Now we're talking, because I love UConn players because of the way they're wired. Like it is, Danny Hurley is like the new Jay Wright, where you know what you're getting in the grittiness of the player.
Sure.
And the hard work is something that they're not going to be afraid of, and it's not going to be something that they're going to shy away from. And I would love that. Like UConn guys, to me, you want those guys on your team because it is a style that you know what you're getting
they play
every single day.
Professional style basketball. ESPN has Clingan as number 3 overall prospect on their board.
And look, 7th pick, you're getting a backup center. That's okay.
And it might he's a backup now, but he might be the guy that you transition to being your starter.
And that would also signal movement from this team with Robert Williams, because you're not going to have Ayton, Clingan, Williams.
And Duop.
And Duop breathe. Yep.
You just got too many guys.
Which big people are a good problem to have.
When was the last time we were worried about the Blazers having too many bigs? Never.
It is the anti 6'3" guards, but they do have a lot of those guys too.
They have one.
Okay.
One 6'3" guard. The rest are bigger.
Okay.
Scoot's more 6'2". But anyways, they've got Tejon Saloon going number 8 to the Spurs. So the way it sounds is a guy like Saloon, if the Blazers don't take him at 7, the likelihood of him being there at 14 is probably not happening.
Yeah.
And so that, do you want to take the upside swing if you think it's there with Saloon, or do you want to gamble on somebody bigger? And here's the interesting thing about Clingan. I don't have him as number 3 on my board. I wrestle with him somewhere between 7 and 10 on my overall board. I had him going later just through different justifications. I had him going to 12 to Oklahoma City. I don't think he's going to make it past Memphis, like the more talks that I have. It sounds like Memphis and Charlotte are probably the 2 most likely teams. And I believe that they actually highlight that here in ESPN. The chatter in the leagues is that teams such as Portland, Memphis, and Chicago, yes, might look to move up to draft Clingan earlier than this. I don't think the Blazers would look to move up to take Clingan. I haven't gotten any kind of indication that way. But in talking to Clingan to folks around the league, there's 2 camps. There's I think he's good. I'm not sure if I want to go for him there. And then there's we think there's more there. And not necessarily as a shooter, because everyone's like, oh, he's shooting at the combine. He showed a little bit there. It's more about like they trust him a little bit more to where you might be able to put him in some DHOs. You might put him in a handoff game. You might be able to let him catch the ball in the middle of the floor and work as a bit more of a facilitator. You're not looking at like Jokic. That's not what we're talking about.
How dare you?
But what if he was like Jonas Valanciunas, but bigger?
I think
that's a good player to have.
Yes, but I think one thing that we have to do is, we've talked about this ad nauseum all season long.
Mm-hmm.
The 2024 draft has got some top-heavy kind of guys, like the top 2 guys are really good. Outside of that, you're not going to be getting at 7 a game-changing guy. And so reframe kind of what the 7th overall pick is going to be. You're drafting a guy in Donovan Clingan to be a backup center. And that is an okay thing in this draft and where you're at. And this is why when you fall back 3 spots in the lottery, that's why it was an okay thing, is because you're not taking a reach on anybody. You're taking Donovan Clingan in a spot where in this situation, a spot where you could see totally reasonable place for him to be drafted in this draft with this talent, and you already have a starting center. He will be a backup. The expectations then get lowered a little bit more, and we're not looking at him on an unrealistic microscope like we did with Scoot Henderson this year.
I'm going to push back on the reframe of your reframe just a little bit in this sense. I am not looking at this as the draft next year where the likelihood of higher level outcomes is there. What I am looking for is the Trailblazers to possibly capitalize on at least one of these picks, 7 or 14, turning into a viable player. And by viable player, I mean like a top 5 player, not in the league, on a team, like a legitimate starter, like a genuine opportunity. And I think that opportunity is there because they do have 2 lottery picks.
No, I was saying the unrealistic microscope of your rookie season like Scoot.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
That was stupid.
Yeah, no, and that's why we tried to temper it so much. Rookies are not good unless you're truly transcendent. Now, here's the thing. One of these guys in the lottery is probably going to be a lot better than projections.
Just like the conversation last year. Should Derek Lively been taken above Scoot Henderson at 3? No,
you're going to get you're going to get to a position that
everything.
makes a ton of sense for you. And is Derek Lively going to end up being a very good pro? Yes. Is he probably going to get better? Yes. Is he going to get a lot better? Probably not. Because he's just a really good pro. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But you also may find a guy like a Jalen Williams, who you're just like, this guy was at number 12? And he looks like he's like Chris Middleton 2.0? And nobody thought that from him. No, nobody. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone 12. That's the whole thing. It's like, so you may see a guy in this draft, and that's the interesting part about this. Cody Williams is a guy that I have consistently had rated and locked to the Trailblazers for a long time. He fits the stereotype and mold of what this front office likes. Long, rangy, with a frame that you can kind of fill out in, wings, those types. This mock now has Clingan at 7 and Cody Williams at 14 going to the Trailblazers.
Hey.
If the Blazers came out of this draft getting Clingan and Williams, I don't think you could come out of that from a process standpoint and say they failed. From a process standpoint, I think that would be about as good of an overall expectation as humanly possible.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people are just like, what would bad be? Because of the way that this draft is, when you have 2 first-round picks and you're at 7 and you're at 14.
I think you have a little bit of safety in Clingan because of his he's 7'2". He's 280 pounds. He's a massive human being. There's safety in that.
Yep.
And with Williams, you are taking an upside swing.
And I say that in that I think a lot of people would say bad would be like the Topic pick where people are like, another guard. No. I don't think that would be bad either. I think they're in a good position no matter where they're at because the expectations have been lowered on this draft and where they're at. I honestly, I believe
that's entirely fair assessment.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
being able to ride that wave would be the smart way to go about it.
What you're saying here is that Cody Williams, Donovan Clingan, both of those guys fill immediate needs for depth on this team, not starting level, not in your starting 5, but fill your depth needs, young, cheap talent that you can then start moving forward and trying to fill out a more competitive roster than you did a year ago.
And all of a sudden, your young core would now make a little bit more sense.
Yep.
Scoot, Shea, Cody, Clingan. That would be your Tumani. That's your young core starting lineup right there.
And then start wheeling and dealing.
Whether or not those are the guys that end up being starters, you've now kind of reinforced the young up and down the lineup. It's not just at the guard spot. It's not just at the wing spot. It's not just at the big spot. It's a young core of like, okay, this makes a bit of sense.
And that is where you saw Oklahoma City started making all of their transitions in their trades of phasing out all the veterans. You have your young core. You bring all those guys in. I'm not saying that you're going to get the Sam Presti haul of 30 draft picks or whatever. But that is where you started to see that transition, and then you move on from the older guys because you have more valuable assets that you can trade, and they're not going to be part of your future moving forward. And that starts making sense in a year where there's going to be a lot of player movement this offseason.
Yes.
A ton of player movement.
It's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks to see which star starts to angle. We started talking about with Jimmy Butler. We've already kind of heard it with inklings around Kevin Durant, although I don't think anything's going to happen there. But Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram, Zach LaVine, like you just start going down the list like, yeah, there could be some movement coming this summer.
Yep.
All right, speaking of movement, how about the movement that didn't happen in the NFL coaching circles? We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Hey, I know this one.
Do ya?
This one sounds familiar.
Still can't believe you don't know Paul Simon.
It happens every
Damn.
now and then, man.
It's okay.
It happens every now and then.
It's
I've
okay.
Fall on my face.
It's okay. I haven't seen Star Wars.
There you go. See, it's they're definitely in the same boat.
Russ is just
Definitely.
getting more and more angry as this whole thing is going
One's
on.
a cultural phenomenon. One's a niche yacht rock song. But sure, totally the same.
Whoa. Paul Simon, not niche yacht rock.
No.
I'm gonna
No.
go.
No.
That's one of his most famous cuts.
I'm just gonna not helping the cause here.
It's Paul effing Simon.
Well, what about Ben effing Johnson? What about him? Offensive coordinator for the Lions. He was rumored to be the hot commodity. Instead, he had a press conference and talked about the process of it all and why ultimately he didn't go down the route. I just said road and route in the same word. That was kind of weird. Roads. I think I just roods it. I think I just roods it. He went down the road of saying why he didn't take any of the jobs that were open this year.
Something that really resonates with me is, 8 openings this past year. What would you set the over-under in 3 years? How many still have jobs? I'd put the over-under at 4.5. I would say there's a good chance 5 of them are out of jobs in 3 years. You know? And so when I look at it from that perspective, if I get the opportunity to go down that road, it's about how do I get to that second contract? How do I set myself up that the stars need to align? I'm not going to do it just to do it. I love what I'm doing right now. Love it. I love where I'm at. My family loves where we're at. Love the people that we're doing it with. And so I'm not willing to go down the other path yet unless I feel really good about how it's going to unfold.
I mean, sure.
I love hearing that from Ben Johnson, though, because this is always kind of the way that I've thought about these head coaching jobs is there are only 32 of them. And when you get an opportunity for one of 32, it's always been you jump at that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben Johnson has this awareness that I think a lot of guys lose sight of because you're just thinking about climbing the ladder in the coaching world. It is, all right, what is my next step? How do I get to the next place? And you don't care really where it is because it comes with a pay bump. It comes with more prestige. But then you get to a point where you can be selective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be selective. And Ben Johnson is at that point.
And we talked about that during this process about how coaches are getting smarter because if you are a first-time head coach and you go to an S-hole organization that does not have it together, it could be the end of you.
You put in so much BS you get put through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is this growing sense of awareness among coaches that are the football guys. Being a head coach, you should just always be, you're the head football coach. You're the guy in charge of all the football decisions. And that was a great thing. But the business of football has taken over to where it's a completely different role than it was. College football is a different animal, right? In that we saw guys like Chip Kelly jump to the NFL because he wanted that I don't want to be in charge of recruiting. I don't want to have to glad hand with boosters. I just want to be a football coach and a head football coach. He was a little bit too much of a control freak, and that backfired on him. He's still a very damn good football coach, but you have these guys that all they want to do is be football guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not blame Ben Johnson one bit for, I've got a really good thing going here. We've got a really talented team. And with my quarterback locked up, with my young core locked up, we are not going to regress. We have a chance to take another step forward. And then all of a sudden, I can be even more selective in the next hiring cycle because, as he said, in a couple of years, all of these guys are probably going to be fired anyway. These same jobs are going to be open again.
It's recognition and understanding. And we've talked about this in the college ranks of like the football guys. Chip Kelly going, screw it, I'll just go be a coordinator because I don't want to deal with the other crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like the recognition of like what this actually is becoming on both the college and NFL levels and what you want to do and how you want to do it and what makes sense for you. I think it's a good thing for everyone involved because you're going to, if you're a crappy organization, you're probably going to have to hire outside the box.
Yeah.
And prove that you're building towards something, and which gives opportunity hires for guys who might not otherwise get those hires.
Yeah.
And for the guys that are smarter and more selective and have some cachet, they can be more selective. Now, it also becomes more incumbent upon them when they do take because if Ben Johnson goes somewhere after going poo-pooing 3 different offers and then goes somewhere and falls on his face, now he's got to deal with the ramifications of that.
Yeah.
I think I like the balance in this system as opposed to everyone chasing after the same piece of meat.
For sure.
So I think it's a nice little balance, a nice little change going forward. Ben Johnson did go on and further illustrate into what he would like to see in a job going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to its ownership, its staff, its my vision of how I can make it work with how I know I am. Like, part of me too, I love play calling. And so I would, if I took a head coaching job, would want to be a play calling head coach. Well, there's a limit on how much time there is during the week. And so what's it going to look like Monday through Sunday in that regard? And just want to make sure everything's nailed down. And listen, there's an adjustment period for every person that takes that job. They're learning on the fly. But I think the more that you have set, and feel good about, that gives you the best chance. I was actually talking with someone the other day about this man, the longer you're in the coordinator chair, it does nothing but help you and prepare you more for the next step if it ever comes down the pipe. So personally, I don't feel like I'm hurting my opportunities or my abilities to be a head coach in the future. And I love what I'm doing right now.
I love that. I love that.
Dude is a sharp cookie, and he has a ton of awareness. He's 38 years old, and when you think about it, he only became a coordinator in 2022. Like, he has
That's
2
forever ago.
seasons of being an offensive coordinator. And so he has this awareness that, look, I may be the sharpest tack in the box right now, but in a year or two, I'll learn a whole lot more on ego management, so much more about how to become a more efficient and effective play caller. And only being a play caller for 2 years, and then you move into head coach and play caller, that's a whole other task. So he's going to continue to hone his craft a little bit more. I'm finding myself to become more and more of a Ben Johnson fan. Like, I think that offensively, schematically, what he does, like, he's wildly creative. I mean, we saw it with, motioning Penei Sewell and having him just absolutely demolish
I mean, who can't
a corner.
I mean, get along with BJ.
What?
Ben Johnson.
Oh, but what he has in his ability to connect with his players and squeeze the most out of Jared Goff as well. Like, everybody thought that Jared Goff leaving Sean McVay was like, there's the death of Jared Goff. Well, Dan Campbell hired Ben Johnson, and he has become the next great offensive mind because he's taking a quarterback in Jared Goff that really is not he's not an elite quarterback, but he very well may well be the second best quarterback in the NFC now.
It's crazy as that is.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2:30 on a Friday afternoon, and I need to remind everybody, Jeff Russ Orr is coming up next. But first, here's the Big Kahuna with the Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Grab your meat for grilling season and save 10% on your Butcher Shop order when you dine in. Menus at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on the Fan, the NBA Finals are all set. Game 1 coming up next Thursday. The Celtics hosting the Mavericks. Boston making their 23rd appearance in the finals, looking for their 18th championship. Dallas, meanwhile, it's their 3rd appearance. They won the title in 2011. The Celtics early 6.5-point favorites for Game 1. They are minus 225 to win the series. The Mariners looking to start a new winning streak. They're hosting the Angels for a 3-game set. Brian Wu on the bump for Seattle. Jose Soriano for Los Angeles. 7:10 first pitch on Apple TV+. The Mariners 3 games ahead of the Rangers for the AL West lead. But multiple reports say the Mariners firing bench coach and offensive coordinator Brant Brown. The Mariners are 29th in Major League Baseball in runs scored, ahead of only the Chicago White Sox. Over to college ball, Oregon Ducks starting the Santa Barbara Regional against WCC champion San Diego. You can hear it over on 910 ESPN Portland. They're heading to they're in the bottom of the 8th. We're all tied up at 4 apiece. Carter Garate with a double, a home run, and 3 RBI for Oregon. Jacob Christian tying things up for San Diego in the bottom half of the 8th with a 3-run home run. Oregon State, later on, they're hosting Tulane. That's a 6 o'clock first pitch on ESPN2. And into the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Oilers and Stars tied at 2 games apiece with Game 5 tonight in Dallas. Puck drops at 5:30 on TNT. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker is now open with shirts from the fan shows and hosts you love. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com.
Auto accident?
I recognize that song. Not this one. Do it to me one more time. Just wanted to call this out from Vancouver Ford text line. I'm 26. I've never heard of Paul effing Simons. but I've sure heard of Star Effing Wars.
Okay.
Danny, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm not surprised a 26-year-old has never heard of Paul Simon.
I'm just
first off.
saying the general person.
Yeah, you have one
Star
person.
Wars has a much larger reach than Paul Simon.
Okay.
I'm winning this one.
Well, of course, of course, Star Wars has a further reach than Paul Simon, dumbass.
All right.
Dear God, nobody is saying that.
Let's build this bridge over troubled waters, huh?
I'm gonna have my fun with it.
Jesus.
I'm a monster and I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word we were going to use.
Monster, masshole, same thing.
Yeah.
It is Friday afternoon. It is 2:30-ish, which means, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Jeff Ross. Oh, the greatest game show in all of existence. Jeff Ross, hit it.
So the NBA Finals are set. Celtics in the series for the 23rd time in franchise history, looking for championship number 18. The Mavericks are in there for the third time. They won it all in 2011. Boston, 6.5-point favorites for game one. They're minus 225 to win the series. Who takes home the Larry O'Brien trophy? Boston or Dallas?
Going Dallas.
Stars win. They've got two great stars, and their star power is greater than the Boston Celtics. But I'm going to go with the team. We went through this earlier. 5 of the top 7 players in this series are Boston Celtics. This will hinge on Kristaps Porzingis and his health. Full stop.
That's a teetering tower of
right.
Ugh.
Yeah, here's my confidence meter.
Also, the Mavericks, one of 8 teams to make the NBA Finals after starting the season with plus 2,000 odds to make the Finals or better. Only one of the previous 7 have actually won the Finals.
They could also be the first 5 seed to ever win a title.
Yes.
Oh. Well, my, oh, my, oh, my. Look at that.
So we'll move on. Some Finals MVP odds for you. Jason Tatum, the favorite at minus 120. Luka at plus 200 and Jaylen Brown at plus 550. Who is named MVP? Pardon? 550. Who is named MVP? Some combo of Tatum Brown or Luka.
Luka.
I mean, well, yeah, Luka. Because if Boston wins, I could see the guy that you talked about at length, Derek White, being like that Andre Iguodala
The
MVP.
weirdness pops up, yep.
Or I could also see Drew Holiday being an MVP of the final. So I'll go Luka.
Looking at the two teams
With
eliminated.
my confidence meter brimming yet again.
Looking at the two teams eliminated in the conference finals, who is more likely to return to the conference finals next season? The Timberwolves or the Pacers?
Timberwolves.
I'm going to go Pacers because the path in the East is easier.
Now that you say that.
Remember,
No.
next year, those Grizzlies aren't going to be that beat up.
Yeah, the Grizzlies aren't going to be that beat up.
Denver's going to try to make some
But
improvements.
neither
for
will
sure.
Milwaukee.
Sure. Philadelphia probably will be. Miami probably will be.
No, I'm still going to go. I'm
Yeah.
still going to go Minnesota. I
I'm
like
not-
Minnesota's core.
I'm going Pacers.
Moving over to the NFL, we've got a few wide receivers that have been handsomely rewarded this offseason. The Eagles signed A.J. Brown for $32 million a year. Lions with Amon-Ra St. Brown for just over $30 a year. And now the Dolphins and Jalen Waddle for over $28 million a year. Bending the rules just a touch here, but which receiver is most likely to disappoint? A.J. Brown or St. Brown or Waddle?
Waddle, because he relies on both Hill and Tua, and both of those can falter.
I'm going to throw Amon-Ra out. I'm going to throw St. Brown out.
We're doing F, Mary, Kill here.
Yeah, yep. Well, and it really is.
It really is.
It's the F, Mary, Kill of quarterbacks and coordinators.
Yes, that's
that's what.
Yeah, that's
what
right. I
that's
would
what I'm
immediately.
going
It was
with.
like quarterback.
So I am marrying Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm effing Waddle. And I'm killing A.J. Brown. in this.
Really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Jalen, I like Mike McDaniel does it the most.
Okay.
Because Mike McDaniel
We're
being
splitting
the
hairs in the
offensive
quarterbacks,
coordinator,
but the
splitting
coordinator.
hair in the
Okay.
quarterbacks, and I'm going A.J. Brown.
Okay.
The Mariners hold a 3-game lead over the Rangers in the American League West. They host the last place Angels for a 3-game set. Seattle 10th in the American League in run differential at -7. But they are an MLB best 11-4 in one-run games this season and have 225 one-run wins since Scott Service took over in 2016. That's also best in the bigs. Los Angeles has lost 5 of their last 6. They're -13 in that span and -41 on the season. The Mariners also just firing their bench coach and offensive coordinator, Brant Brown, I believe was his name. They're 29th in the league in runs scored, ahead of only the White Sox, who stink.
Good God.
So anyway, like I said, the Mariners are -7 in run differential. Come Monday, the Mariners still in the negative.
Or
No.
Yes, still negative.
3-game sweep, you got to win by
2.5.
2.5.
Yes, they still are in the negative.
They're bad.
That was a really hard question.
I
You
know.
mathed me, you
Yeah.
mathed me, and you can't math me.
Yeah.
And on a Friday?
I was told there'd be no story problems.
Sitting there, I'm like,
When a
carry the
train
one.
leaves,
All right, well, this one won't make you think so hard. Summer movie season is upon us, and this season marks the return of 2 classic action comedy franchises. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are back in Bad Boys Ride or Die. That hits theaters next Friday. And
Bad Boys Ride or Die or Bad Boys We Need a Check.
Yeah, right.
Because, dear God.
And Eddie Murphy reprises his breakout role in Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. That hits Netflix on July 3rd. For which one are you more excited? Bad Boys
or
Beverly Hills Cop?
Beverly Hills Cop, because Eddie Murphy's been away long enough that he might do something insane.
Yeah,
Will's already got the insane. Now you're gonna do the image rehab tour.
We have also had this element, too, of Eddie Murphy has quietly... Like, he's been going... Seinfeld has been out there, and he's just been, like, railing against all the PC stuff.
Mhm.
Eddie Murphy has, in a little bit of a quieter way, done the exact same thing. He could just come off the top rope
and go full Beverly Hills Cop.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka
Yes.
just what-da-da!
And that's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen here. Yeah,
All right.
that's why I'm going Beverly Hills Cop.
Also, well, I think also they're rolling back like Sergeant Taggart. They're bringing back Judge Reinhold. I
Yeah,
believe.
basically everyone who's alive.
I believe also Bronson Pinchot is coming back for this one too.
Bronson Pinchot.
Sours.
I love him. Sours.
Sours.
My name is Sours.
Can I get you a little espresso with a twist? You should try it. You like it. All right, that's all I got.
I thought you were going to go with
that
action,
is-
action comedy Deadpool.
That was really good.
That's
It
really
was a really good Sours.
Sours. What is this? It's not sexy.
Did you, speaking of action comedy movies here, Russ, did you see the Deadpool Wolverine popcorn bucket?
Yes, I did.
Thoughts?
That is
It's about exactly what you think it would be.
exactly. I can't say I'm surprised. It's-
After Dune, they were like, oh,
Yeah.
we know this game.
Yes, exactly.
We love this game.
Yes.
We can play this game.
Yeah, they went right where I thought they would.
They went right where they thought you would. That's for sure. 100%. All right, coming up next, we'll get a little bit of news here. The power of the Detroit Pistons is overwhelming at this point. There's a little bit of change that might have a shift here for the NBA draft. Danny and Dusty, the Fan. Detroit Pistons hired Trajan Langdon to be their president of basketball operations just a couple weeks ago, and he was given carte blanche to make the changes necessary regardless of cost, which means firing general manager Troy Weaver or potentially firing head coach Monty Williams, who's owed a truckload of money. About an hour ago, the first move came. Troy Weaver has been dismissed as general manager of the Detroit Pistons. He was offered, reporting from James Edwards of The Athletic, beat reporter in Detroit, that Weaver was offered the opportunity to work as an off-site scout to stay as a smaller part of the organization. They were going to push him to the side.
They were going to Milton him. They were going to Office Space Milton him. They were going to put him in the basement and take his swing line. They were going to take his swing line stapler, and he's going to be going, "Where's my stapler?" And he's going to burn the whole house down, as if it could get any more torch than it already is in Detroit right now.
But it does paint an interesting picture for not just the Trailblazers, because they're picking right after them, but what does this mean for how that Trajan Langdon views the team? Like, who's available, who's not? Is Cade Cunningham their guy going forward? Do they believe in Jaden Ivey? Do they believe in Jalen Duren? They've had Modest Buzelis mocked there pretty staunchly for a while now. Does he believe in Buzelis?
Yeah.
If not, which way do they go there?
Yeah.
And so it all of a sudden starts making go, what the hell is Detroit going to do?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a wild card now at 5.
They are a wild card at 5 because of the fact that you never know what some of these franchises are going to do when you have a dramatic shift front office wise. It's very similar to when Joe Cronin took over, you were like, all right, but what's this going to look like? How is this? They're going to attract this draft, and being at 7. And behind, like 2 spots behind where the Detroit Pistons are they could be, and we were talking about the mock draft earlier, top of this hour, right? The ESPN write-up said the Blazers, Grizzlies could be active in moving up to try and get Donovan Clingan. What is that freight going to look like if you have to move up, and if you fall into? Are they going to be willing to wheel and deal kind of out of that spot of 5? And could there be more moves that could be made? And are they open for business? It's intriguing with all the player movement that we're going to see, and the fact that Detroit they don't have a bad young core, man.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but they've got good young talent.
They do. They're kind of like the Orlando Magic a couple of years ago.
Just not as big.
No, not as big, but you're sitting there and you're like, you squint and you go,
I like some stuff. I like Cade. I like Jalen.
Really good.
Like if something else hits, if Cade can stay healthy, there's something there for sure.
Thompson had some moments where you're like, whoa, okay.
So they're interesting, and now I just kind of bring a piece that brings it all together. As we get out of here, the Oregon Ducks are taking on the University of San Diego right now in the